So before we get into this one, I'm gonna warn people that K2. Remember, this is Kian Part 2, because Kian Bexty has left, and we now have, I can't even remember what his last name is. Kian something. I guess we're gonna find out what his last name is. He's now K2. He's a part of the show, and this is his first big scoop that Rebel is releasing into the world, and it's not good at any level. And there's like some artistic choices made in this video that confound me, and we will go through them. And hopefully that keeps our interest, because let me tell you, K2 does not have any charisma. And it makes me wonder if he's the one who edited this video as well, which further makes me wonder whether he's going to have a further job at fucking Rebel News. So here we go. Brace yourselves. K2, here it comes.
What's going on, guys? K2 here with Rebel News. For over a year now, we have seen buildings burnt down, stores looted, and governments being pressured.
So yeah, Kian Simone. And look, they even call him K2 in quotes on the fucking thing. Like, he's fully embraced the K2 moniker. He even said in an interview with Ezra Levant that he looked up to Kian Bexty, so he doesn't mind being called K2, which is also gross.
I mean, it's more like, one, the audio quality. Two, the fact that he sounds like he's reading it off of cue cards nervously at like a mandatory speech thing in 5th grade. Where it's like you can tell that this is scripted, where like how do you be less presentable than Kian Bexty?
It's gonna get worse too, because it says down here that he's the editor. And so that tells me that he actually did edit this. He's got a Tim Pool Duke. Yes, he does have a Tim Pool Duke.
God.
But this, just the editing of this is incredible. Like, we'll find out. Just, we're already getting audio issues. It's gonna get a lot worse.
By radicals to not only defund the police, but abolish them too. These trained Marxists aren't only in America. They're in Calgary too. So I went to an abolish protest to find out what they're all about and figure it out for myself. Going into this, initially I wanted to check out.
So,
oh my God.
You know what this has a vibe of? This feels like a high school media project.
Yeah.
So I guess
this sucks.
This is fucking embarrassing, Ezra. Please don't. Please don't do
but I will say too, this I guess I didn't stipulate what this is about, but he claims to have infiltrated Antifa in Calgary, and so that's going to be the premise of this video. K2 has 45 followers. Oh, 645 followers. I have more followers than K2. That's nice.
Don't follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. Not K2. If only politicians were half as cool as Rebel makes them sound. Yeah, I know. I do not think that Calgary is for abolishing the police.
How the police treated them, mainly to find similarities and inconsistencies to how they treat the freedom movement. So I asked two of the police patrolling what their plans are.
You guys have like a distinction between the two, like the way you guys look at it?
There very well could be. It's just like it's not at our level.
So, notice there's no subtitles in this, and he has music playing that fucking makes it hard to make out what they're saying. And he's pointing the camera at the ground, and it's fucking shaking. What the hell is going on?
He's nervous. He's nervous.
Oh my God.
Like, we're strictly with adversity, so yeah, so we're just trying to make sure that we make the contacts with people that are the leaders, so that way we can hopefully work with them in the future to try to.
Well, part of me is he says he's talking to police here who are the diversity unit, and they're talking about like the importance of that diversity unit, I guess, in Calgary. But how the hell do I know that? All we get is their fucking feet.
make sure that both sides have a say in what happens, so that we can have the distancing, or we can influence kind of how they go.
Okay.
Our role is not enforcement. Like, our role is not the enforcement
Like,
piece
just
of
you
it.
guys.
Us
like,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
with
could there
that
be plans?
said-
That's not us. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's other officers or people aren't abiding by, whether it's the masking or the organizing, that could be taken care of. You've been out for the last few weekends. You know, there's
Oh, so he's asking them about enforcement. I guess it's like, why are you not going after these Antifa people? Why are you only going after the lockdown people? And he's asking the diversity unit this question, as if, I guess, diversity unit, he thinks he's probably like, these are the woke police, so we're gonna get them in a gotcha or some shit like this. They never shy away from videoing faces. What's going on? Yeah, well, I think part of what this video is trying to signify is he's gone undercover, right? He's going to be infiltrating, so that's why, I guess. Yeah, defund all police, including the diversity unit.
the new Supreme Court bench order, but we don't have a copy. We're not serving that. It's our role, is it? But I'm not saying that a
Government restraining order against peaceful protest is a naked attack on Albertans' freedoms. Even like, look at like this cropping here and just I'm sorry to like analyze this. It's just like, what the, and just a solid blue screen. What are they doing?
DHS or other police officers in a different capacity could do that.
After finding my seat, I was approached by a volunteer asking me to go to the back until I could prove myself worthy.
So you can't see, my face is in the way here, but it says Antifa security. He's now going to be interviewing Antifa security. Oh my god. People's response tend to be different when being filmed. Western Standard, yeah. Western Standard is the magazine that Ezra used to write, which has now been taken over. But he's going to infiltrate.
So now we get 30 seconds of him staring at the floor?
Well, this is, I think, staring at a wall. We'll figure it out.
It's a protest against police brutality today. If you sincerely saw this on Facebook, I believe you would have known that.
Yeah, abolish the police, yeah.
So, our concern here is having interlopers that really aren't here for the right reasons.
Okay.
So, I'm going to ask you for now to sit at the back, if you can.
Yeah.
If you're here for the right reasons, that'll prove itself over the next couple of hours. But for now, if you could distance yourself from the rest of the crowd, that'd be
Well,
great.
how do I prove that so I can broadcast this to...
Follow directions for the next little bit.
Okay.
I respect.
So there's something about this that doesn't feel real to me. As someone who has been a frequent protester and someone involved in like left-wing organizing and I guess you can say anti-fascist organizing within my own city, like I can't, like, we never had like a thing like this where we do some sort of security check and and make sure some, like, you need to prove yourself to us first so that we know that you're Antifa. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is.
I wonder if this is just them improvising because they realize this dude's a shithead.
Yeah, well, like, so
Because, like,
we got
they talked about the Facebook event where this dude didn't know the details of what was going on the Facebook event advertising the event. So it could just be like they're improvising dealing with a shithead because they haven't had to do this before too, and it just sounds bad because of that. Like, I don't know.
So I get three sort of things. One, staged, and I agree with two cars that the production value is so low, I don't think they're capable of staging it. So I kind of agree with that. So the other option is like it's a purposeful joke, like this person is pretending to be Antifa security in order to just play with this person, or they probably realize that this person is like a shitty person and are just trying to make him. They're doing like a. Have you ever seen Arrested Development? And there's Miss Featherbottom, and everybody knows that it's Tobias pretending to be the maid, and yet Tobias continues to be the maid. I feel like that sort of scenario is happening here, where it's like everyone knows that he's like really a rebel employee. They're just gonna make him make him feel like he gets to pretend to be an infiltrator so that they can go on with their business and just ignore him. I don't know. There has like some sort of like vibe to that.
After that, knowing I could still get a shot until they made sure I didn't.
So now, okay, so now he's gonna claim that they're blocking his view. Now, I want to say his stated purpose of being here is to infiltrate this event. I don't know. I mean, like, so far we haven't heard anything of what this event is, but we're going to be focusing on the fact that people are apparently blocking his view. With music playing the whole time.
Just getting a shot of that dude's ass for a while.
I made friends with one of the...
So what the fuck was the point of that? You infiltrated the thing.
This guy sucks.
You infiltrated the thing, and rather
You showed up to a protest. It's not even like infiltrating.
That's what I mean. It's like Miss Featherbottom. It's like, you know, they realized that he was a shithead, so they made him think that he was infiltrating so that he would just sit peacefully and like not be a complete shit disturber. And then they stood in front of him to prevent him from getting faces or something. Antifa apparently pretty shitty to other Antifa members. Yeah, down in front.
Really wonder if they just had a like no live streaming or broadcasting thing, and he was just like very obviously doing that as well.
Yeah. I mean, but he had like, my guess is the camera was concealed because he's infiltrating. I don't know. But then again, like, people have phones here, so it's not like how do you police that? But here's the thing: is like the other part of it is like a lot of these people. What could have happened, because this feels like a little bit more legitimate of a scenario, is that like a lot of these people probably know each other. So like, if this is whoever here with their phone, you're like, oh, this is our friend over here, so we know them and we're not too worried about what they're doing on their phone, right? But then maybe this one person who nobody knows is wandering around with a big bag will like leave the camera in it, and they're just like, hey, you're weirding us out, no one's seen you around before, and you have a bag, and we just want to make sure that you're cool, you're giving us weird vibes. That would make a lot more sense to me, because I have had like certain events that I've attended where like all of a sudden somebody will show up and they're like stalking the perimeter and look menacing, and I happen to know who the person was, but I had a bunch of people coming up being like, who is that? Like, what are they doing here? It just feels creepy and weird, and it's like, oh, that's just Bob, that's just what they do, like they're fine, they're harmless, you know. But like, of course, like, it's just a safety measure, because you don't want some random person coming in and antagonizing and start throwing racial slurs and whatnot. So my guess is some sort of dynamic like that could be at play here. But I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't infiltrate.
Volunteers who gave me the go-ahead to walk around and join their group. And here's how that went.
What is this? Oh, they're carrying flags.
Oh my god, it says anti-sexist?
What?
Witnessing.
You went to a protest. What?
Oh no.
What about this is infiltrating?
And the music?
When do we want it? Now!
I love too. We didn't even get the full cheer. All we heard was, "What do we want now?" Black Lives Matter. I know, yeah, Antifa EMF static. Yeah, like what the fuck was that artistic choice in this video? I'm gonna add static. Why? It feels like that's what it has, that like high school vibe to it. Like they're just like, oh man, you know what would be totally cool? We had some static, bro. It'll look all like mind control and shit. Like they're breaking the structures of reality, man. We infiltrated a protest.
It feels like adding the transitions between slides on a PowerPoint presentation.
And the sinister music too. Like that was not music. Like what kind of emotion is the music trying to like convey? Like I feel
When do we want it? Now!
It feels like
Get back here!
What is that? What?
You know, it feels like a murder has just occurred and you're burying the corpse. Like that's the music that's playing right now.
It's a shitty knockoff Blair Witch where it happens at a protest this time.
There's gonna be another one of these like advertising trailers in here that like is really jarring, and so I want to prepare myself for that too. We still got a ways up for it. But yeah, very weird. Very
There's
weird.
still 9 minutes left to this video.
I recognized one of the main speakers, one of the neighbors' friends of Pastor Arthur's church here in Calgary. So I asked her what she was doing at this protest.
So I think first and foremost, for people who call the police, they are a very elite group of people that actually get police to come to their calls. So that first there has to be that understanding is that just because I call 911 doesn't mean I get the same level of service that a white person would get. So because of that, we have been learning how to police ourselves, our community, without police intervention because they won't come and help us. And in fact, when they do, they create trauma and actually create the very institutions that are supposed to support people with mental health issues and trauma. So they're very insidious in the fact that most Canadians feel quite safe calling 911, but not all people of color or Indigenous do because we don't necessarily get the help or support that we do. So while it may seem very intimidating for white people to not have police, that's because the police have always protected them and not the rest of the community.
The weird thing about that is they let that whole thing play and I'm like, okay, reasonable, sounds pretty reasonable. And yet they have that weird bum 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 bum. Like what is that music trying to convey to us? I don't even. The thing is,
there's a cover up.
Yeah, well, it does. It feels more mystery or suspense. I like how you're picking up on this too. It's like it's going to lead into a murder, definitely murder mystery-esque. Yeah, or like circus. Yeah, circus. It's got that like those like ding 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 like kind of vibes to it, but it's. You know, you would think, because like one thing that Rebel has done in the past, whenever they want to put on this like sinister, they do like the deep like bass sounds, like a Hans Zimmerman like soundtrack, like burn, burn, boom, 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 boom. You know, like they're like the evil people coming to kill you. But this is like, oh, they're like it's like stealthy murder, and all they merely said was, hey. When Indigenous people and Black people call the police, they get a different response than when white people call the police. No shit. No shit.
We don't identify for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, I was raised by my white father. Why would I think I'm Native? I think white, I talk white, I was raised white, I was in a white community.
The police stayed far back. The main two patrolled.
And what was the point of playing that clip? like, I don't know if that was like played to sort of like, I don't know, like, I almost like to highlight like, oh, she even says that she gets to present as white, so therefore, like, I don't know really why they would.
None of this footage makes sense. It's just whatever he filmed that had like audio you could hear is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And the protesters were not happy about it. The helicopter circled for 10 minutes, but no encounters because they were wearing masks.
That's not us, yeah.
Yeah, if there's other officers or people aren't abiding by whether it's the masking or the organizing, that could be taken care of.
The police say the group are following public health guidelines. However, the Alberta Health Services site only mentions not having gathering larger than 5 with people outside of your household. Meanwhile, at the lockdown protest, with similar conditions, they were treated much differently. And to add on this, in Alberta, we've seen 2 pastors and 1 businessman arrested under an Alberta.
Yeah. Oh, Arthur Pawlowski. Let's get the. There is something. Again, not pro police. I personally would rather them not do this, but I am curious for the choice for why they chose to arrest Arthur in the middle of the fucking street and drag him across the street. I just don't. Optically, it's very it could seem very bad, but like I haven't seen any like news like jumping off the pages because of it. If anything, people are just laughing at Arthur. But very, very weird. I think we're giving them far too much credit for strategy and reasoning they just didn't have. Well, yeah, I know. Like Rebel or the police dragging Arthur. Maybe K2 is too honest to outright lie like some other people I won't mention. Yeah, well, it could be that he's still fresh. He hasn't learned how to flex the grift flex yet. I mean, you can see it here. He's making the disingenuous argument of like, look at what they did to poor Arthur here, who was violating the law, but they won't even like go after these protesters who are also violating the law, even though they're masked and outside and fighting racial discrimination.
Businessman arrested under an Alberta Health Services restraining order that prevents the promotion, attendance at, or the organization of illegal public gatherings, which is anything that doesn't conform to the public health limitations of just 5 people in attendance.
So let's read this. High case area restriction. 5 people maximum if gathering with people outside your household. 2 household cohorts. What is this? Outdoor gatherings have attendance limits depending on active cases in your area. Ten people max. Lowercase area restriction. 10 people. I mean, but this gets to the heart of like why I said like earlier in the show, like part of the restrictions, they're in place to kind of like be a kind of like carrot and stick phenomenon to try to encourage people to obey. But at the same time, it's probably not worth the police effort, time, and resources to do this in all cases, considering the risks involved. Where it's like, are these people really going to be? Were those few Antifa activists we saw standing in the rain on like a side street? Are they really going to be a super spreader event that we need to clamp down on? Probably not. Huge rallies and marches full of anti-lockdown people, those might be more of a concern, you know?
Outside, as well as masks and social distance protocols. And even though that restraining order was amended to just include 2 specific people named in it, police are still using it to crack down on the free assembly rights of Jane and John Doe Calgarians. We're not all Jane and John Doe Calgarians, as you'll see later.
Right now, while we're working on these big systemic changes through like action and policy change, we also need to be caring for each other on the ground. So like, if you have the material ability to donate to a sex worker, do it. Feed somebody on the corner, do it. Like, stop calling the cops on people that are stealing food at the grocery store. Yeah! Like, abolition starts with killing the cop in your head.
Fuck yeah. They said that, and then they deployed the Antifa EMP. Like,
EMP. Yeah, and she dropped truth bombs, and then one EMP blasted the camera.
Do it. Like, stop calling the cops on people that are stealing food at the grocery store. Like, abolition starts with killing the cop in your head.
And the choice to like slow it down, like what do you like kill like do you think it was like an attempt to make it like last longer on the killing the cop, so like that would get in, oh my god, they said kill a cop when all they said was kill the cop in your head? I don't know. It's such a stupid artistic choice. Give us what belongs to us in peace, and if you don't give it to us in peace, we will take it by force. Emma Goldman. All right. Yeah, they're definitely trying to make them seem crazy by playing like how I bet no one on the actual left snitched to the FBI about naming faces from January 6th, even though the FBI laid down lots of juicy bait. The way to do it is to let it play normally and then repeat it a couple of times with exaggeration of effects. Oh my god.
Pull a random vehicle over and beat the fuck out of them.
That seemed deceptively edited, did it not? Because it almost sounds like this person's going to be talking about like what cops are doing. Yet it makes it sound like they're advocating for pulling someone out and beating them up. Yeah. Because it immediately goes to that. Fuck the police.
Pull a random vehicle over and beat the fuck out of them.
That is so. I mean, who is saying that this person hasn't learned to lie yet? Because that was fucking shitty deceptive editing. That was scammy as fuck. I love that. I love that the sideline person got into it too. I'm there for it.
Racism! Racism! CBS 4.
Okay, so this is the jarring. Here's why the static was a poor editing choice. For one, it feels weird and awkward, but two, he adds it to like the weird like you need to donate to Rebel News segment. But I'm gonna play this segment for how just fucking weird this is. Just weird. Watch this shit.
CBS 4 News produces.
But
We are concerned about trouble government irresponsible one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. Exactly what people think.
this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Rebel News is one of the only news sources nationwide that is state-sponsored, which means that we're not scripted. We say things that the government doesn't like. We say things that YouTube doesn't like. YouTube is updating its terms of services on June 1st, which could wipe us off the map completely. So what I want you to do is go to rebelnews.com, give us your email, your phone number, whatever you can provide us so that we can stay in touch. rebelnews.com.
You want your sentiment to be clear so people know. Yeah, well, here's the thing. That's the Sinclair thing. That the reason why that clip went viral in the first place was to highlight the right wing's takeover of local media stations. And they used that clip to say we're not scripted like the mainstream media, when it was local news segments pushing the right-wing line. And Sinclair Media hosts people that have been on fucking Ezra's show. So, like, they're using the thing that critiqued people they associate with to then claim we're not like the mainstream media, so please come to us, we're an independent voice. And then he did it over that weird fucking distorted effect on a TV thing where he was barely audible. Isn't that fucked up? I don't even know what like that.
What
everything
the
about
hell
that.
kind of choice was that? Did nobody review this video before it got published? Where they were just like, oh yeah, the new guy can handle it. He can both star in, film, edit, and then also release it without any other sort of...
Yes, Corten,
anything.
that's what he said. Yeah, part of me thinks that, like, I don't think their audience, if they remember that viral clip at all, I don't think they remember the context. And so they could probably watch that and just be like, oh yeah, look at all those news people all sounding the same, not realizing that it's Sinclair Media and it's a right-wing thing and they're friends with Ezra. Oh my god. It's fucked up. It's fucking weird. And like it gives you like there's a dystopian quality. Like I feel like even like the hymn on the TV and the static and what this is like, you know, it's 1984, they're trying to warp your brains or whatever. But it's like it's like embedded, like they're doing it. They're taking the shit and spinning it in a way to make it what it isn't. They're doing the news speak.
Your editing looks like shit.
Well, yeah. Oh my god. And where did they get this footage of this weird fucking TV thing? What a weird thing. This person clearly, K2 probably thinks of themselves as like, yo, I'm a fucking brilliant artist, man. I'm gonna make some fucking content.
We can stay in touch. rebelnews.com. I ended up following them to City Hall as they said they were going to be continuing there. Little did I know that the Defund the Police protest would be merging with a larger pro-Palestinian protest.
I love, like, he infiltrated Antifa and he just participated in one of their events.
Yeah.
That was held in a public space. Marched along and then found another group that they support and joined that group. Oh no.
He went to 2 protests.
The story got much bigger than I had imagined, and so did the police presence. Right away, I noticed an Israeli flag. Well, you know I had to check that out.
I'm just standing here. I'm Israeli. I'm Jewish. I'm proud.
Notice again how fucked up, because we had the Australian example, right? You had the 10 pro-Palestinian protesters and the cops had their backs to the pro-Israeli people. And then again, one dude. It's just one dude. And look at all the cops around him to protect them. With, again, their backs to him. And they're facing the pro-Palestinian people. How fucked up this is. It happens all the time. Anyone who wants to think that cops aren't fascists. Cops are fucking fascists. Every example, like, find the example where the pattern that I'm witnessing here is not the case.
Well, you know I had to check that out.
I'm just standing here. I'm Israeli. I'm Jewish. I'm proud of it. I don't need to hide it. And much like every single person here can stand up for their identity, I can stand up for mine, right? My homeland's been barraged with over 4,000 rockets in the past 2 weeks. I grew up in a city where buses were blowing up left, right, and center. I feel I have the right to stand for my country and for my people, for my family, for myself. There was a kind of circle of people closed in on me. Nobody threw any punches or anything like that, right? Said some profanities to me and whatnot, gave me some fingers, and then these lovely officers helped bring me over here and keeping me safe, and they're doing a great job.
Do you think it's weird that...
I will say, like, at least he didn't say anything other than they threw profanities. He admitted that they weren't like violent or hostile against him, which was like nice at least. I also want to say, if you know, when I first saw this, I thought it was our friend Ari, and I got worried. And I was like, oh yeah, Ari is.
It looks kind of like him, yeah.
I was like, I worked with Ari for pro-Palestinian stuff within the NDP. So I was like, it can't be Ari.
I mean, he's also in Toronto, so.
Yeah, I know, but it with the mask on, especially like the eyes and the beard hanging out, looks a lot like Ari.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, like, you know, whatever. This person lived in Israel and has thoughts that I disagree with.
Anti-fascism is calling for the persecution of Jews?
I don't. Yeah, I think it's really weird because it's anti-fascism, right? It's it's a double-sworded, like, you know what I mean? It's like a. Oh man, I'm lost for words right now.
Who was that talking to?
That was supposed to be a Palestinian activist, right? And he asked the Palestinian activist, do you find it weird that anti-fascism... So I'm guessing this is someone who's with the Antifa Black Lives Matter thing they were first involved in, and then, like, that's a cop, yeah. Well, here's the thing, is we never see their face, right? So, like, who knows? But it's like, do you find it weird that anti-fascism is calling for the persecution of the Jews? Now, or persecution of Jews, so it's not the there, right? I can see an element in this, which I could see why it confused him or them in this circumstance, which is that as anti-fascists, who's like the quintessential fascist group that we all point to? Germany, Hitler, and they targeted Jewish people. So if you're Antifa and you're siding with a group that is I mean, the wording here, persecution of the Jews, or of Jews, should have stood out to this person, but maybe when the question was asked, it didn't initially register. But the idea of, like, yes, we're fighting a group that claims to be, like, standing for Jewishness, that might seem contradictory, right? You could see why that might leave them in a conundrum, right? But there's the question itself should have cued this person in. But then again, it's like you ask muffled questions to anyone or ask weird questions to anyone on the street, you're going to find someone who's either flummoxed or doesn't initially pick up on the fact that you're trying to be antagonistic and might not notice it, right?
Anti-fascism is calling for the persecution of Jews?
I don't. Yeah, I think it's really weird because it's anti-fascism, right? It's it's a double-sworded, like, you know what I mean? It's like a. Oh man, I'm lost for words right now.
And then we don't even get to hear them finish, but they said it seems weird, but that's the most we got out of an answer there, right?
And then I'm at a loss for words because it's kind of like, I don't know what I'm saying or talking about. Like,
yeah. Because
obviously not aware that he's being filmed because the camera is not on his face. Like,
yes.
Just ignore him. Over there.
Sorry, guys.
Nothing. It's like a bug.
Notice as well here, something that I don't think is going to get acknowledged. People who are on the pro-Palestinian side encouraging their comrades here to just not engage with the asshole on the hill. Almost like they're practicing de-escalation and are realizing that it's not worth it and moving the energy elsewhere. Because we get told constantly from Rebel News that they're evil and they're going to attack you and they're the violent ones, and here they are practicing de-escalation.
The police did a fine job, and rightly so. That man needed protection. However, the police didn't support.
That man needed protection. Look at this. Did they need that protection? That was the protection they needed? A wall of police.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a friend.
The Alberta cops actually wear their masks, which is interesting.
Surprised me when it came to the march.
Well, it's weird to me because I think the other cops wear masks, but I think most of Ontario, I've seen they've had to have like black masks or like cloth masks where they clearly have the disposable.
Yeah.
I know how many fucking cops are there protecting a few people. Literally, they're protecting two people. I saw two people. It was one, and then a friend showed up. Two people.
Zero social distancing, minimal masks, and no tickets. Check this out.
Hell yeah. This is just cool. What?
Yeah.
Like vaguely, like this is what would play in a desert scene. Yeah.
Netanyahu, you will see! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free!
This is just cool. Like, what's...
Wasn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, like, what's wrong with this? Like, I guess, oh no, some of them aren't wearing masks. Like, that's not great, but like, whatever. Otherwise, cool. Hell yeah.
I mean, there's going to be limits in how you control like a large crowd of people like that, but like, you try your best, and it doesn't mean like the protest isn't like worthy. Like, I don't know, like, it's like weird to put this in perspective, but it's like shit is happening in the world. People are going to want to protest. Like it's hard for you to just like crack down on it. I mean, the difference is part of me wishes that we could have sustained protest, but this was a moment to just say we stand in support of what's in solidarity with the people who are being bombed and murdered right now. And like that's a worthwhile thing to do, even if it isn't a lasting, sustained thing, which it hasn't really been as much as like, I would love it to be ongoing. Party in the street every day. But it's like, of
I
course,
think there's some more protests happening in Toronto tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it like
other cities.
You compare it to how semi-consistent these small anti-lockdown things like have been, right? And as a societal danger aspect to it in what they're advocating and doing, right? Where I think some people in society, I think if we saw police cracking down on this, people might respond more negatively. So like, here's what I'm trying to say. Let me frame this in a better way. Police do things based on discretion all the time. And there's certain moves that they make that have more to do with like PR, right? So it might seem to them where if they were to just run in here and start arresting these people, they're going to create a scene. It's going to make the news, and it might paint them in a bad light. So part of it is you let these people do the thing. They go home. They naturally disperse. Nothing happens. And the police get to go home thinking they did a good job, right? Where the problem with the anti-mask people is they have been doing things like after they're done holding their rallies, they'll do like, we're going to go on a non-mask wearing shopping spree and just harass businesses down the street, which they've done in Toronto several times. And so they create like additional harms that the police then feel the need to step in. And then people don't feel like publicly, I haven't seen a lot of people start condemning the police because they look at that behavior and go, I don't mind seeing Arthur Pulaski get drugged through the street for the shit that they're doing, right? And so it's about the police are using discretion here. Like, I would rather the police not intervene on any of these things, but that's what's going on here. They Rebel makes it like it's some huge like conspiracy thing, and it's like as if like, I don't know, police are woke and are choosing not to disrupt this because they agree with them or something, where it's like, it's not that at all. It's all PR and optics bullshit. The mass thing would be a repeated gathering. These solidarity events are mostly 1 or 2 time events, yeah.
I think I don't know. I think this kind of gets into some bigger issues amongst like how the quote unquote like left frames things too, where it's like after a certain point you just gotta say like, no, what we're doing is good and justified. It doesn't matter otherwise. Like
No,
where it's
I
like
agree with that. I mean,
yeah,
we've said that like
no,
a whole bunch today. Anyways, but yeah.
yeah.
I guess like what I was trying to explain was more like explaining rebels' bafflement with what they're seeing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to explain. But yeah, sorry to cut you off.
Like, but it kind of gets into like, you know, with Tukar saying like the mask thing would be a repeated gathering. These solidarity events are mostly 1 or 2 times things. Even if they were happening every day, still all power to them. Like, it's the same with like, you know, anti-fascist violence versus fascist violence, where it's like anti-fascist violence is good. It doesn't matter, full stop. Like there are like violence for the purpose of anti-fascism is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I think
full stop. Like it doesn't need to be justified in any other way. It doesn't need to like, you know, check off like, oh, this one's they're all wearing their masks, or like, oh, they're, you know, they're only targeting property, or oh, they're only, you know, like they're waiting for the fascists to attack first, or whatever else. It's like, no. Like
I'm
especially, you know, we're on the 1-year anniversary of burning down the 3rd precinct.
Yeah.
Yeah, like do this more. Do it harder. Do it with more numbers. Like whatever. It's all good.
Yes. No, I agree with all that. I think I'm saying that if they were more sustained, which I wish they were, because that's part of my argument too. Is like I wish they were more sustained. But if they were, I think you would find more instances in which the police would actually start to intervene. That's like sort of what I'm saying. So what Rebel is making the argument is sort of like, well, and they make it sound like the police are woke, right? It's this whole like bullshit line about woke police. But in the end, what's happening here is just the police are making a strategic decision with their discretion. And of course,
yeah,
like,
and like
if
I
they're
don't.
the Montreal police, they just don't give a shit. They'll tear gas you no matter what you're doing.
Yeah,
but in the rest of Canada,
I don't think that we're like necessarily disagreeing, or even like I'm not disagreeing necessarily with Tukar's. It's kind of just like it is a sort of habit that the, you know, quote unquote left gets caught up in, of like, you know, justifying why what we're doing is like somehow,
we're not
you know, it's not breaking lockdown protocols, or it's not violent, or it's not like,
or it's like this would be,
you know,
justified
all
even
of
if
these
we
sorts
were.
of things where it's like, yeah, like
No,
it's the same with like if you look at India with like the farmers' protests, how they're talking about how those might have been super spreader events, and it's like, yeah, like, you know, sucks that happened during a pandemic.
Yeah, I remember back when we had our Black Lives Matter rally in town, and that was one of the discussions my wife and I had, which was like, I was telling her I want to participate in this, knowing that like she couldn't either. Like, if I go, someone has to look after the kids, and we weren't going to take our kids during the pandemic to a protest. And it just got to it where it was like, even though we were aware that it was bad, like one of the things like, and she was worried, pandemic and all this stuff, and I was like, but look, this cause is bigger than the pandemic. You know what I mean? It's worth going there, even though it is a risk, right? And it was like explaining that to her, that it was like worth a risk. It like all of a sudden like clicked in her. She's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. And then, you know, spousal communication, very important. Like,
yeah,
could have just gone. Like,
I guess I'm just
pissed off people, but it was like, yeah, it was worth the risk to go, even if it would have increased the risk of a spread or something.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't really think that we're disagreeing or whatever, but it's more just like it's a questioning of like the rhetorical strategy, where it's like, because it is very like over dominating. Like anytime you go on Twitter or wherever else, like you just see these people being like, oh no, but here's how we're different actually. And it's like, no, we're different because our goals are different.
No, you saw that.
And that's what matters at the end of the day.
You saw that in the earlier video, right? Where the one person in the purple shirt was saying what we're saying here, but then the other person in the black mask that engaged with Menzies was like, no, I don't agree with the Black Lives Matter thing because they went out when the pandemic was on, right? Where the other person's argument was like, no, these are people being racially discriminated against and are standing up for their rights. And that trumps the pandemic in a large respect, you know? And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Let's finish this fucking masterpiece.
Mostly peaceful. Supposedly it met the Alberta guidelines enough for no tickets or arrests to be made. Still, some chose not to follow those rules.
Kind of like...
For anyone wondering, the standalone Israeli man got home safe. And if you're watching this, dude, God bless your brave soul.
You know what this... So,
why did you record this outside?
You know what this reminds me of, though? So...
What?
Or a similar vibe to it. So when I was I played music growing up, and in high school, my friend and I, like, we got our own, like, recording equipment and shit like this, right? And we had this grand idea. We were going to make our masterpiece of an album. And remember, we're like grade 11 or whatever when we're fucking doing this. But we had like a bunch of our high school friends, and we had like a group sing-along thing that we were going to record, okay? So we mic'd the room. We had these fucking, we saved up all our money. We got these recording things, and we had these beautiful mics around the room. And we recorded everyone doing these group vocals. And then realized that, like, we had an additional mic. We had, like, way back in the day, you had the audio jack input mic for your PC. And that was what the computer was set to be recording. So our beautiful mics weren't actually recording anything, and it was just picked up by the fucking computer mic. And that's what I feel is happening here. There's some additional mic connected to his computer somewhere that's doing the recording. It would be the equivalent of, like, because I have, like, a microphone attached to the camera I'm using, but I'm recording through my Blue Yeti, right? But if I didn't make sure before stream that it was, like, using the right audio inputs, you would be hearing my camera audio and it would sound shittier. That's what I think happened. And then you can't correct that post-editing, right? You're just like, fuck, I used the shittier mic. And now, in his instance, he probably could have just recorded the fucking thing again, since he's just recording against a fucking brick wall in his backyard. But he probably got lazy and was like, I'm just going to boost the audio. And that's why you hear birds chirping.
I like to think that his mom wouldn't allow him to record indoors.
Why is Rebel downplaying the Israeli counter-protest by 50%? What is their aim?
They showed it as only one dude.
Oh. Rather than two?
Yeah.
But I'd still like to ask...
But my guess is because it was a woman, and they devalue women, so therefore it really was only one person.
I mean, my guess was more like the rebel respects the right of, like, their allies not to want to be interviewed if they, like... They probably asked the Israeli counter-protesters if they wanted to be interviewed, and only one said yes. As opposed to everybody else in this video.
Yeah.
That's why I was able to go to these protests too so smoothly. Because I wanted to leave this until the end, but look who I saw as I was walking into the protest.
Hello friends, this is Pastor Peter Riker. I came down to the streets today at Street Church to volunteer my services to feed the homeless, help minister, help bring a prayer, bring a word of encouragement to anybody who needed it. And they served me. They served me with this order that was for the whistle stop. It's a little wet right now.
So for those who don't know, the Whistle Stop Cafe is a place that's been shut down because they keep refusing to lock down during the COVID pandemic. So yeah, he got served.
So they served me with the whistle stop that was for Christopher Scott, whistle stop, Glenn Carrot, and the famous Jane and John Doe. So this was a an order that was put May 6th. It was amended May 13th. And then here we had another date dated the 18th of May, in which the police officer just notified me that Jane and John Doe are back on the list. So we're going to have to find that out for sure. And we'll be in contact with fightthefines.com, I guess. And we thank Rebel Media for their service to the community.
So I guess there was police pressure and they were out to get people, but just pastors trying to feed the homeless. Care to comment, Calgary Police? K2, Rebel News.
The hard edit.
He signed off as K2.
Care to comment, Calgary Police? K2, Rebel News.
Rebel News.
Maybe a car drove by.
Oh my god. So apparently there was a date typo on this thing? May 6th, 2021. Oh, because, wait. Oh my god. Day of May 21021. What is going on there? This 18th day of May 21020. Yeah, they fucked up. I don't know, like, does that matter if they fuck it up like that? I don't know how much it matters, because, like, I heard, too, that it doesn't really matter if it's, like, they fuck up a car ticket. Although, I had a traffic ticket thrown out once because they screwed up the date. I don't know. That's interesting. What you gonna do? But yeah, so that's K2. This is his first piece of work for Rebel News. Not the best work I've seen on Rebel News. Not to say that I've seen a lot of good work on Rebel News, but like, and not to give him props because the guy's a homophobic piece of shit. But the person who does video editing for Drea Humphreys is a lot better at producing videos than some of the other talent they have working here. Yeah, Matt Brebner. He's the Christian hip hop star. Is the one who does the video editing for Drea Humphreys, and he used to produce his own like music videos and stuff like that. So he has a bit of a talent for that sort of shit. I have that stupid.
We haven't seen Drea in a while.
That's because Drea hasn't done anything interesting. I mean, the only reason like these became interesting to me is because like remember when we did like the Mocha footage and then we did David Menzies footage at the Palestinian rally, and most of the content was just like shots of like the crowd dispersing and like doing shit, and like that to me is like less interesting. And so some of these them attending these anti-lockdown events are them just like recording the crowd, and it just gets repetitive and boring, and there's not much. At least with this, like we got some of that in that like they're attending events, right? But it was more about what interests me more is how they handle being like journalists, right? And then like you can actually tease that apart. But just watching video footage of like anti-mask people be stupid it gets redundant really fast because they'll just be like, I don't think that viruses are bad. And then it's like, okay, cool, good for you.
Hello, my rebels. Hello, my rebels. I'm a good boy. I'm a weirdo.